Welcome to episode 259 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench podcast network presented by Playback. He's Tom Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at ETB Sports. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Make sure you like and subscribe. We are very close to 900 subscribers and approaching 1,000. So please help us as we continue to make that gradual climb. If you want to listen to us on the audio side, if you can't watch on the video side, listen to listen to audio wherever you get your podcasts, which is Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Odyssey, wherever you get audio, you can find us. YouTube Premium, which is one I learned about earlier this year. So just go and listen wherever you get your podcast. And Empty the Bench and the Empty the Bench podcast network presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. All right. This is going to be a very interesting episode, but number one, fire in the hole. We haven't done an episode like this in a long time. Would you agree?
Yeah, plenty of interesting topics that are going to see the two of us probably rambling on. And I say that because, well, for the second week in a row, our two football teams, our two quarterbacks, well, one of them is not my quarterback anymore, are taking the forefront right now for this episode. So, once again, the Giants find themselves in the news with more egg on their face. The Jets find themselves in the news, and your buddy has more egg on his face. Hold on. And I say your buddy, I mean Mr.
RELAX.
Yeah, he's got plenty of egg on his face. And this, for the first time in a while, we're actually going to have to take somebody down in the media for the first time in a very long time.
Well, you will because you have a stronger connection to them than I do.
Well, I'll save it for when we do it. But
yeah,
so there's media controversy. There's New York Giants controversy. There's New York Jets controversy. What else do we have in this episode?
And then the MMA Outsiders is going to stretch into ETB Sports.
Well, I've been following this like a hawk. So I'm all on top of the Conor McGregor civil jury trial.
And now, the effects of it is starting to come out. We had one video game brand that dropped him. And now, in the hours before we started recording, a very significant dropping.
Yeah. I mean, it's a certain brand you and I can't stand half the time because they aired too many commercials.
Well, we haven't seen commercials on them for a little while, at least on the UFC front. And then at the bottom, we have baseball, which sounds weird to say, but I mean, it is the off season, but the awards have come out. I don't think there's been too many surprises with these awards though.
No, not really. And then obviously what people want to hear, Juan Soto has received some offers. We don't have numbers, but we have a list of teams.
And he pulled a big tease to the day we're recording this.
Yes, he did. And obviously the MLB schedulers pulled a but we got to change this.
Yeah, because of the hurricane, and so the Rays are playing their games at Steinbrenner Field. It's a story we talked about for a couple of weeks now. But we begin. I guess we'll start with my team. So when we talked about this last week and put out the clip last week, the time that we had recorded the episode and the episode had aired, Daniel Jones was still a quarterback on the team. He had just been benched. And within the span of the time that right after we aired the episode, he went from quarterback 1 to quarterback 3 And then they signed your old buddy Boyle, and he goes to the quarterback 4. And then in practice on the Thursday, he ends up playing safety. He ends up playing safety on the scout team. That puts him at basically, that's why I had on the Giants country video on Last Football Forecast.
I was going to refer to that.
That's why I put quarterback 6, not quarterback, cornerback.
It was the funniest video ever. If you need to go see that video, go watch our Week 12 football forecast. It was actually a really well done video.
And then supposedly last Friday, Daniel went into John Mara's office and said, look, I know why you're doing this. And Daniel Jones, I mentioned last week, Daniel Jones mentioned in the media, he was no stranger. No, he knows the reason why. It wasn't a football move. It was the Russell Wilson situation all over again from last year.
The injury clause.
Yeah. And Daniel said, you know what? Let me not go through the ringer. I know what you guys want. I want a different thing because I want a different team. Let's just end things here. And the Giants granted it. So Daniel Jones, no longer a member of the New York Giants roster. Tommy DeVito plays his first game as a starter in a while on Sunday, and they got blown out by the Tampa Bay Bucks.
It was ugly.
Yeah. So, number one, it's not exclusively the quarterback now, is it?
No. And by the way, I need to say one thing. Baker Mayfield doing the pinch fingers celebration.
We deserve that.
And by the way, the Giants players and anyone who said that was uncalled for, then beat him. Beat him if you don't want it in your face.
Well, I don't think Malik Neighbors, it's not a matter of what happened with Baker Mayfield. It's a matter of he never got the ball in his hands until the second half.
Well, and we can break all that down too, but Malik Neighbors essentially called out Brian Daboll in the media after the game. And then Brian Daboll went back to Malik and they apparently had a powwow about it.
Yeah, well, apparently, and you and I both called this, John Mara's comments about Brian Daboll being safe have now been basically walked back.
Oh, it's the biggest load of garbage I ever heard in my life. There's no way their jobs are safe at the end. Look at their schedule the rest of the way. Who are they beating?
If they can't beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving, nobody.
So, what's their record now?
And the Cowboys beat the Commanders. So that might be, and I'll save this for football forecast that'll air Thanksgiving morning. Special air start. I think the Commanders are a little banged up, a little running out of gas, and I think Jaden Daniels is still not 100% from his rib injury.
Also, their bye week is the latest bye week in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, well, they and 5 other teams, which they need at this point.
That's crazy, though. Week 14 as a bye? Like, holy cow. I mean, it's good, I guess, because if you were in playoff preparation, that's good to have a bye week. But just to go back to this, and then watching, first of all, I don't know if you saw what I put in the private StreamYard chat, the Adam Schefter tweet.
The Tommy DeVito. So, there is a legitimate chance that means Boyle could start this week.
Well, or Drew Lock
could. Drew Lock. Well, funny you say that. After the news, this is something that we didn't talk about last week. After the news that they were going to Tommy DeVito, Drew Lock was a very pissed off young man.
Gee, I wonder why.
Like, you sign me to be the backup and you go to him?
Don't get me wrong. I happen to like Tim Boyle as a backup. And that's Giants bias aside. Like, he actually was good in Miami when he was a backup, but Drew Lock's a better quarterback. I mean, come on.
I guess you could chalk that up to maybe playing for the number 1 pick, but again, it goes to something that we've talked about previously, Nick. Those guys on the football field, those players, going back to one of your old coach's famous quotes, you play to win the game. You're not going to go on the field and you're just going to go score the touchdown because...
Did you hear, though, after the game, what some of the players were saying the way they played? They said they were playing soft. But what is the biggest negative you could ever get as a player?
Soft.
Playing soft. They were not out there to defend. When their quarterback was getting the pinch fingers at him, if this was a team that was in lockstep chemistry, you would go out and you would take Baker Mayfield down.
And again, it goes right to the problem that, despite Mara's comments, I think it's pretty much clear. Dable's lost the locker room.
I think he lost the locker room quite a few weeks ago, actually, like halfway through the season, if I really want to be fair. But
because at this point, like, yes, Daniel Jones was not great, but it goes to something I said, and I said on Football Forecast too, and last week's show. This year, it's been Daniel Jones stinks, but, and there's always something. The play calling, and I'll never get over this, week 2 not having a kicker on the standby when Graham Gano went down. Like, there's always been something else. Nothing has gone right.
I would also say look back at the firing of Wink also.
No, Wink wasn't fired. Wink, didn't he go?
No,
somewhere?
Wink was fired. I remember that for a fact because it was a big deal because he really had the defense going.
Oh, you're talking. Oh, that's yeah. Oh, that's right. Well, the reports were that he wasn't fired, but he was forced out, I think.
Okay, let's be real. Like, essentially, he got fired. I mean, so
well, okay. I forgot about that. You're talking about his little clashes with people and everybody else.
And that basically led to Wink being shown the door. So everyone was mad about that. He had the defense rolling when he was in there.
I know, but I think the fear was Wink was probably going to go to another team anyway because of how good he was coaching.
Yeah, I mean, this whole situation is a mess on the field. They're probably going to be the number 1 overall pick, and I don't blame them because they probably should play for the number 1 overall pick at this point.
But now you're also, and it goes to something I talked about with Football Forecast. Hopefully, I'll explain more. You think back to that decision last year, 2 years ago. 2 years ago. You probably should have just used the tag on Jones because it would have cost you maybe a little bit less, but you signed him for $40 million a year, but the tag itself was going to be $32 million a year.
Well, go ahead.
I was going to say, and if it was a situation like what was going on with Saquon about the potential of refuse to play, I feel like you're probably in the same situation here. Oh, and by the way, to anyone who's saying, you should have signed Saquon, I'm going to be very honest with you. The way that the Giants are playing right now, I don't think Saquon does anything to you.
I would say that's more a 6-1, half dozen the other conversation more than it blowing up the Giants.
Right, because again, and it goes to a problem during Saquon's tenure, and it goes to a problem, when you compare to New York and Philadelphia. You know what the New York Giants have, and the Jets too with this problem, have consistently struggled with year after year that Philly has a good something, an O-line.
It's a good call right there. I mean, Philadelphia has, I would argue Philadelphia has the best offensive line in the NFL.
Right.
So I don't know exactly how to play that one out exactly, but I don't know what you think about that.
Look, I'm going to admit that the Giants' offensive line has picked up pieces here and there. It's better than it once was. It's still weak in my mind, though. And like you said, ever since Wink's been gone, the defensive line has just not been good.
Well, the defense has been a shell of itself. The offense, I can't really blame on Daniel Jones 100%. It's not fair to be on him.
Well, I'll throw the question that was thrown at me by someone I know. Do you think Daboll's limited and criticized play calling has been a matter of that they didn't trust Daniel Jones?
I would go a step further and say that Brian Daboll is really not head coaching material. I would say he's probably one of the better offensive coordinators in the league. And that look at I can't remember. He used to be the Giants offensive coordinator. It's Spags. He went on to be with the Chiefs, and look how many Super Bowls they've won.
I know.
So my point is, sometimes you're a really good offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator. You're not a head coach. It's a different thought process in the brain to be a head coach.
I'm very curious, considering where Daboll came from, and we have somebody who is a Buffalo fan on Football Forecast. I'm very curious to hear their thoughts their thoughts tomorrow on the show about what they think of Dable and everything going on with this team.
But there is another side to this whole thing, which we have to get to.
Yeah.
So this news breaks, and Elle Duncan, I have to remember the thought process in my head. So Elle Duncan is on Sports Center. That's the first part of it.
And they're talking about Daniel Jones' statement to the media right after he was benched.
Now, let me be very clear, because we're going to break down a lot of different audio incidents that happened throughout the media. And I'm giving this disclaimer for a reason, so people don't say I didn't fuck with the audio or change it. I literally pulled the audio from the direct sources that this stuff came from. So I pulled it from credit to Sports Center and credit to SiriusXM NFL Radio. That's where these direct sources have come from. So I did not touch the audio and I did not change the audio. It's all direct context. So the first one, because I think we got to start there, is Elle Duncan on Sports Center. I think
her comments are the base to everything.
So listen to this. This is the context where everything went wild.
Normally reserved taking the L for Fridays, but Giants quarterback Daniel Jones just did something so inexplicable that we made an exception. After being benched this week, Jones took to the podium to say goodbye to the franchise and fans, but with like 7 games left in the season.
All right, wrote something down just to make sure I say it the right way.
I'm sorry, you have to write this down? Didn't you go to Duke?
The opportunity to play for the New York Giants was truly a dream come true, and I'm extremely grateful to the Mara and Tisch families for the chance to play here. The Giants are truly a first-class organization, and I have nothing but genuine respect and appreciation for the people who have built it and who helped carry on that tradition. Thank you to all my teammates, coaches, and staff that have done so much for me these past 6 years. Of course, this season has been disappointing for all. I'm excited for the next opportunity and know that there's a lot of good football in front of me, and I'm excited about that. To all the fans, I have deep respect and appreciation for your passion and love for the Giants. The fans are a huge part of what makes playing for the Giants so special. Thank you.
You guys think he had this saved in his notes since like 2020? In all seriousness, DJ, I could have saved you like 90 seconds. A rewrite. Sorry you paid me $108 million for one playoff win, and I look forward to reviving my career as Brock Purdy's backup. The end.
Okay.
How disrespectful. No, I'm sorry. I know you're going to have your take on regards to a comment made towards Elle from another media source. But how dare you? How honest?
Wait a minute. I'll let you go off. I just want to say that this comment, that 1 minute and 30-second spiel, caused a shitstorm in the media. Huge shitstorm. Go ahead.
Because seriously, I'm sorry. What was that warranted? Daniel Jones did, I get it. Daniel Jones was not the most successful quarterback, and that's an understatement. But the way that he conducted himself as everything was going down this past week, it was professional. It was done the right way. And the reason he wrote things down, and you're going, he went to Duke. You go, yeah, but there's a way that you conduct yourself, and there's a way that, if he needs to write something down to get it right, guess what? Then do so. If he needs to write that down, I mean, what happens if he didn't write it down? Maybe he gets emotional, and then guess what? Maybe he has a right to be emotional. I mean, look, I don't understand why we're coming after somebody the way that he is handling himself after all of this, after his name has been dragged through the mud, whether deservedly so or not. You cannot and when I say deservedly so, I mean from a playing standpoint, you cannot tell me that, Daniel Jones hasn't conducted everything the right way. And I actually felt a sense of relief when Mara gave him his release, because watching what happened a few days, like we talked about, in the last segment, I felt bad for Danny. The way that they just completely buried him. And then the Giants to go and get embarrassed on Sunday like they did. Like, you can't put all of the blame on Daniel Jones for this.
Yeah, that was tough to listen to. I remember when that actually was on SportsCenter, it was airing, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I'm trying to break it down of what the premise behind that little, I don't know what you want to call it, parody or bit or whatever you want to call it.
Oh, and by the way, let's say, and that's the other thing that we forgot to talk about, the other part of the segment of the last segment. Daniel Jones is looking at potential contenders.
We'll get there at the end.
As a backup. No, but my point, because what Al's comment, well, guess what? If he goes to a contender, he goes to a backup, and he walks away with a Super Bowl, who's going to be the one laughing?
I mean, I get what you mean. Is it the same feeling? No. Is it a Super Bowl ring? Yes. But yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah, only because, Nick, 2 words. Kadarius Toney. Remember when he got the Super Bowl with the Chiefs and all the crap that went Giants' way? It would be the same thing all over again.
Well, Kadarius Toney actually played. That's a little different. But what I would say is, let's go in timeline order, and then we can get back to that he's on waivers and all that stuff. So that happens. Then there's a report that comes out that the Giants have called ESPN, which was proven to be false, by the way, that they called basically to get Elle Duncan's comments falsified and whatever. And then Stephen A responds to what he thinks is a real report of what's going on. And then we find out, you found out from the Post, I found out from a bunch of different sources that the Giants never actually called ESPN. So this is a mess, what's going on right now.
And it's funny, Nick. No, but last week, we're actually praising ESPN in terms of a broadcasting rights when we talk about with the inside the NBA situation. And yet here, once again, when it comes to their own personnel or ESPN management's decisions on personnel, it is just another facepalm.
Now, this is not the first time Elle Duncan has said something a little outside of the ordinary before. Now, I can't remember the exact situation, but she's been in controversial hot water before with comments at ESPN. But it kind of led to some other conversations that went down on other channels and other platforms. And it led to a show on SiriusXM NFL radio and on the SiriusXM Blitz for a guy that everyone should know well if they've listened to this show for a while. His name is Bruce Murray. Now, Bruce was on this show, I think back in 2021, if I'm not mistaken, when we were still a 3-person show. And I have to say, ultimate class, did a great interview with us, answered every question we had. Would you say it was a really good interview? I did.
Yeah. Yes.
No problem. And just for context, in case people are wondering, I was an intern for Bruce when I was at SiriusXM, when he was on the Mad Dog Sports Radio channel, when his name was actually on a show. Oop, as my Apple Watch goes off. But what got me really upset, because I look at Bruce as a consummate professional, okay? And I hear this the other day. The context that he goes after Elle. Now, I'm not taking Elle's side in any way. It's more the way he handled it. So listen to what Bruce said on the Blitz, on the SiriusXM Blitz. He's co-hosting with Rich Gannon. Listen to this quote.
You know, we all fall into the trap of going after the lowest hanging fruit. But I take issue with a female on ESPN who goes by the name of Elle Duncan. And I went to her Twitter feed to see if, since this controversy has erupted, if she provided any kind of apology, which she hasn't. You can check her out on Twitter at Elle Duncan ESPN.
Why bother?
When she went yesterday And after Daniel Jones produced a heartfelt news conference saying goodbye to the New York Giants, and as you said, Rich, was accountable for the failures that he was part of as he moves on to the next stage of his career, and she decided to mock that. Not just the performance, by the way, on Sunday, but the individual himself, to the point where he said, I wrote these words down because I wanted to make sure I shared them properly. You're emotional. And she said, oh, I thought you went to Duke. You had to write them down? And then she went on to say, I could have simplified it for you. I stole your money or something. I won one playoff game. This is from an organization, by the way, who's firing people left and right. And I wonder how she would take kindly if we made fun of her colleagues that are getting fired right now. I wonder how she would take it if she got fired.
I mean, are you kidding me?
I get what he's saying.
It's a little disrespectful, though.
Explain how it's disrespectful.
A female at ESPN?
Okay, that part, yes. I was going to call out that part. That part, first of all, a female. If you said female sports report, okay, or but wouldn't you just say a woman?
Are we Neanderthals, Bruce? Like a female at ESPN? Are you kidding me?
Now, his argument itself, I kind of find is similar to the one that I made, but I wouldn't have gone as far as necessarily the last part of it about poking fun of the colleagues.
And also, what about, hey, go check her out at Elle Duncan ESPN, like basically firing the negative arrows back at her. Like, can we grow up? I remember Bruce as a consummate professional who never attacked anybody. Okay? And now you're saying a female at ESPN and go check her out. And what was that snide comment Rich Gannon made in the background? Oh, nobody cares.
Don't bother.
Don't bother. Like,
why bother?
Or why bother? Guys, what is the problem here? Like, okay, it happens, but you attack her as a personally? That's the problem I have here.
And it is a fair problem. It's basically, to take words from our friend over at Football Forecast in Johnny Montalban, it is a two wrongs don't make a right kind of situation.
Right. And
because his argument.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. His argument itself to the source material is not wrong. It absolutely isn't. I mean, Daniel was emotional. Daniel did take accountability for his failures as a member of the New York Giants, as the trusted quarterback that was supposed to lead the franchise. I wouldn't have gone as far as to say, I would, like I said during my thing, that when it comes to ESPN personnel or the people handling ESPN personnel making decisions, yeah, it's facepalm worthy, but I wasn't going to go after all the cuts that were going on at ESPN.
And also, he misquoted her too, saying like, oh, the stealing of $108 million. Bruce, go back and listen to what she said. She said that he got paid $108 million for one playoff victory. A little different. Just,
you know what? Can we listen to it again?
Well, it's going to take a while because it was towards the end of that was like all the way at the end. But my point is, I lost a little self-respect for the man after the way he treats the way he talks about a woman who's working in the media field. Okay? Yeah. Like, that bothered me.
And I hate to say this, because I hate to kind of walk it back over here, but the more I think about the stuff with, actually the stuff here, I'm actually going to go back here because the stuff with First Take and what was going on with Bruce, I actually don't feel so mad if it actually comes out to be true that the Giants called ESPN, because the way that Elle Duncan acted and the way that Bleep Storm has become, especially with the Murdoch, kind of deserve it so.
And also, I want to get to the second half of it, because Rich Gannon, who's the co-host of the show, said some not so kind words also. So listen to Rich, what he had to say also.
There's a quarterback, Bruce, that came to the Giants, was not an easy situation, went through coaching changes, coordinator changes, system changes, and just hasn't gotten the results. And yet he stood at the podium yesterday, and what a class act. He just basically accepted responsibility for his part in it, said he could do better, he could play better. And then you have somebody, and by the way, I don't know who Elle Duncan is, Bruce. I don't know that anyone even really watches Sports Center anymore, and so I don't spend a lot of time at that channel. But here's a gal who's obviously never played the game, but she's going to say something really negative and nasty about somebody who just lost their job. I think that they're better than that, and hopefully she gets reprimanded by her bosses there to say this is not who we are.
Are you kidding me? Now you're calling for her job?
I wouldn't say Elle Duncan needs to be fired for this. I wouldn't say she needs to be fired for this. That's the thing. But again, I don't think he's necessarily too wrong about what happened. Now, in terms of her having her opinion, everybody is allowed to have an opinion. I get that I get that Rich Gannon is a former quarterback. I get that he has a level of expertise compared to somebody else, like an Elle Duncan. But you and I have a podcast, so we have an opinion. What's your favorite expression, Nick?
About opinions? Which one? I have many. Oh, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Yes, I agree. Totally. You're right. This is perfect for that situation. But again, what bothered me in this quote, this gal, like, come on, like, show some respect.
Yeah.
Like, it bothers me because I never saw either of them in this light whatsoever. Now, if Bruce really wants to take to task about questioning whether people's jobs should be in take, last time I checked, when I interned at Sirius, you were on the Mad Dog radio channel with a show of your own name. And you ended up on the NFL channel as a trade from Mad Dog to NFL radio. So, should we really be questioning on who should have jobs and who shouldn't?
Well, I'm not going to go after Bruce Murray and his job.
No, but I'm saying, like, he wants to question her and say that ESPN brass essentially should go fire her, essentially.
Yeah, I don't think this is anything to do. I don't think that Elle Duncan should lose her job over this. Do I think she should be reprimanded? Absolutely, but not lose a job.
It's the media freaking business, for crying out loud. You could lose your job at the hand of a foot. Like, literally, you could lose your job. So, by the way, you're 100% right that what she did was classless and crass and way out of context. She shouldn't have done it. But grow up and don't disrespect a woman on the air. I just find that horrible.
I understand that point, and I will agree to that point. So I just want to conclude because, look, and Gannon mentioned it himself, because you talk about, that over the course of Daniel's time, first of all, Daniel, remember, was not a product of the Dable and Shane system.
Agreed.
If he did not have the successful 2022 that he did, he would have been out of there a lot sooner. Yeah. He was a leftover from the Gettleman era. And you think about the number of GMs, and you think about the number of coaches. And John Mara, part of the reason he made that comment about Dable and Shane being safe was because he doesn't want to go through another head coach and another GM. And it's something that I've said here on the air too. What, your 4th or 5th head coach, 3rd general manager within the span of a decade? Yeah, that's not good for business.
The last thing I'll say, though, because I know we got to move on. We have a lot to get to.
No, because I'm not done. But if that's the case, and it's not the QB, and you're going through all the owners, you go through all the GM and the head coach stuff, then you know where the fault lies.
Well, yeah, up above, obviously.
It lies on John Mara being an owner. And I feel like the decision-making that he has, the amount of reach into the decision-making, that he is incapable at this point of doing anything good.
The last, at least reactionary point from me would be is, if you're going to bring him back, you have to sign him to an extension. You're not bringing him back for a year. So do you think Dable and Shane are really 3-year worthy to come back and really turn this franchise around?
I don't know. But again, I don't know if I want to go through another head coach, another GM, unless we're burning this another effort down and starting over again.
Well, do you think a number 1 overall pick would be enticing to a head coach and a new GM to come into?
Yes, but I'm not confident in this QB class. And if they make the goddamn decision to get freaking Shedeur Sanders, especially after what happened last week with him shoving the referee, and you have to bring Dion with you. Imagine if everything goes to hell. You think Dion will be quiet, especially in the New York media? You can't take many more egg on your face.
Well, both New York organizations are a shit show.
All right, so let's go to that part. So, Jets country take flight, because now the Jets might find themselves in a very similar situation.
Yeah, this is not a good situation. Now we're getting reports that Aaron Rodgers might be benched or the IR or released. I mean, there are reports that he won't get scans because he knows something is wrong and wants to fight through playing it. Aaron, it's over. It's over. Just open up the coffin, put yourself in it, bury it, and move on.
It's like you're acting like that SpongeBob meme, that clip from SpongeBob. Okay, get in.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's over. Like, Aaron, it's over. It's a failed experiment. Okay? It is over. Okay? It's like I can't even. It's frustrating. Okay, we haven't had a good quarterback in God knows how long. And what's scaring me even more is Zach Wilson had a better throwing percentage than Aaron Rodgers.
Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. And Sam Darnold's now owning it in Minnesota. I mean, like, blow it up. Blow it up.
So the Giants and Jets are both going to be in the same boat, basically, at this point.
We're going to be top 5 overall picks going into the 2025 draft.
It's going to be something. It really is.
And then to make things worse, if you mind moving down to the next banner, please. Aaron Rodgers speaks on the Pat McAfee show. Now, this is not different than any other week that he goes on the show, but we find out something very interesting. So Rich Cimini pointed out, because I didn't get to watch it when he was on. Aaron Rodgers speaking on the Pat McAfee show now says he's not sure if he wants to play next year. Says the Jets would be, quote, the first option if he decides to play in 2025. Adds that a decision would be based on how his body feels and whether the new regime wants him back. Of course, he indicated recently that he preferred to play. Quote, I think so, he said a couple of weeks ago, so a change of position.
Yeah, that is a sudden change all of a sudden, that we're going from, we're looking at potentially that he's going to be IR, bench. I mean, the way that everything is sounding, Nick, in spite of his comments on Pat McAfee, it sounds like the Jets regime isn't gonna want him after the season. And I don't blame them.
Why would you want him back? He's going to be a 41-year-old quarterback. The guy is dust and bones, for crying out loud. I mean, one hit and he might collapse like a bad tower or a Jenga tower.
We kind of saw that in 2023.
Good point. 4 plays and he was done for the year. I mean, he brought the American flag out and that was the end of the season for him.
That was his highlight.
That was his highlight reel. Hey, Aaron, what'd you do in 2023? Oh, I brought out the American flag.
I mean, it was a cool moment. That's all it was a moment.
And most people didn't even... Nick D was late to the game and didn't even see the play happen.
Did he... Wait, so he got on the field and he was wondering why the hell Zach Wilson was on the field?
Yes. So that was a lot of Jet fans, because apparently a lot of Jet fans showed up late for that game. So
you probably had a lot of traffic in that area.
Probably. But this is a shit show if I ever saw one. And now you have Rex Ryan going all over the ESPN stratosphere, whether it's radio, whether it's Get Up, whether it's First Take. It says, I can fix everything. I can be the head coach. Me, 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 me.
He left his footprint once on the Jets, and he wants to leave it again.
I mean, he's the last one to take them to back-to-back AFC championship games.
You're not wrong.
So, would I like him back? Yeah, sure. I'd give him another whirl.
But do you have the team that's going to, work? I think the Jets' issues are not just the quarterback as well. I mean, there are some areas that just have not looked great. Is part of that Rodgers bringing in his people? Maybe. But, Nick, Aaron Rodgers is not at the fault of Sauce Gardner absolutely declining.
He's been a shit show like this whole year. Penalties up the wazoo, missing tackles, slow first step. I mean, I don't know what's happening to this guy, but they're going to have to figure out something because he had a really good year the year before and just really dropped off. I mean, first of all, Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers, the whole, our chemistry will be here when you get here, has not been here. And what are they going to do with Devontae Adams if Aaron Rodgers retires? Oops, sorry.
They're just gonna be chill guys like that.
I'll just stay at your house, Aaron. We'll eat dinner every night together.
Maybe Devontae Adams will follow wherever Aaron Rodgers goes, unless that's retirement, in which case, good luck, Devontae. I guess you'll be the receiver to whoever the Jets draft.
He might follow him to the ayahuasca as well.
Or maybe the Jets will draft Sanders.
Oh God, please don't say that. I don't need that headache in the locker room. I don't need Deion Sanders in the locker room, please.
Wait, imagine Deion Sanders becomes the next head coach of the
No. Let's not even wish that one into existence.
Then again, I don't want him to be the head coach of the Giants. So
I'd rather him be the head coach of the Cowboys and stay far away from New York at this point.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
About them Cowboys.
Oh, he's a whole nother topic we don't even have time to get to.
Nick D and Ben will get to it later tonight. The shoving of the referee.
Oh, great. Just great. But the Jets are done too. They might win another game or two just because that's what happens with them. But they're not going to be the worst record in football. That's probably going to be the Giants.
Yeah. All right. We have some other stories we got to get to. On the MMA front, Conor McGregor. Well, now let me be clear on this. This was not a criminal trial.
It was a civil trial.
Yeah, civil trial. Ireland has a very high standard when it comes to sexual assault crimes. So there weren't going to be any criminal charges here. However, a civil jury, a jury of Conor McGregor's own peers in Ireland, has ruled that he is liable of sexually assaulting a woman in December of 2018.
Yeah, this is bad news. And I think there was also an accomplice, if I'm not mistaken, also.
The woman, I believe the name is Nikita Ham, tried to sue somebody else.
James, whatever his name was the other person.
Yeah, but that went to no avail. However, the ones against Mr. McGregor have now officially been, he has to pay her, I think it's approximately $260,000.
Yeah. And which, by the way, I said to you beforehand, I thought that was a very low number.
When you consider she sued for 1-point-something million.
Like 1.7. Yeah, which I think said the 700 was for the legal fees and the million was for the, obviously, what happened.
For the details.
Yeah.
Trigger warnings out there. The jury had deliberate. This is from ESPN. This is Brett Okamoto's piece. According to Irish national broadcaster RTE, the woman told the High Court that she met McGregor at a Christmas party in Dublin. She accused the former two-weight UFC champion of forcing her onto a bed, choking her, and making her fear for her life. A paramedic who treated the woman's injuries the next morning told the courtroom he had never seen such intense bruising on a victim, according to BBC News. The woman's lawyer, John Gordon, said she never pretended to be a saint. It had gone out looking for a good time that ended up turning into a nightmare. He's not a man. He's a coward, a devious coward. You should treat him for what he is. The woman had to take several breaks in her emotional testimony as she said McGregor threatened to kill her during the encounter. He quote from her, "He let me go and I remember saying I was sorry as I felt that I had done something wrong and I wanted to reassure him that I wouldn't tell anyone so he wouldn't hurt me again." She said she then let him do what he wanted and he sexually assaulted her. Police investigated the woman's complaint, but prosecutors denied to bring charges, saying that there was insufficient evidence. A conviction was unlikely. And McGregor is going to appeal this and just basically referred to Nikita Hand as a consistent liar.
So he has 28 days to appeal this. This is a bad situation all around.
I mean, here's the thing that I look at this, and I'm no legal expert.
We both aren't.
Yeah. So on one hand, yeah, in the case of Ms. Hand's argument, like if you're trying to poke holes in it, the lack of criminal charges, and such. But on the other hand, with Conor McGregor, I mean, and Luke Thomas from SiriusXM pointed this out too. You would think that with this kind of case, we have a medical professional on the plaintiff's side of things. Where is there a medical professional disputing the medical evidence on the defensive side of things?
Well, that was the question I asked you when we were talking about this. Like,
and I don't have an answer.
But I'm saying I'm just asking out of pure mystery. Like, where is the rape kit? If there was a rape kit involved in this, that would prove the evidence. Otherwise, if something happened, and let's put it this way, Conor is no saint by any means whatsoever. This guy is a criminal buffoon, and that's me being nice.
He's had multiple accusations of sexual assault thrown against him.
I mean, sexual assault, but he's also had many upon many criminal charges.
Yes.
Like, the one that I remember is obviously the chair through the bus.
Right, he got one for that. The phone smashing.
Oh, yeah, the phone smashing. That's right.
He punched a man in a Dublin bar, I think it was.
Yes. He for some reason, doesn't know how to keep his hands to himself. Unfortunately.
He is somebody who, I mean, and I kind of said this on MMA Outsiders, Suzanne, ever since winning the 2 belts, he just completely fell off a cliff.
Well, he's let the power go to his head. Unfortunately.
He's the money, too. I mean, it is just an awful look. Pete Devlin, his wife, basically came out with a statement showing support. I'm not surprised that she showed support, given that she has been and she has been with him ever since he was broke, and basically, plumbing apprentice, starting out with his MMA dreams. But at the same time, I mean, I gotta wonder what's going through her head, because how much can she take, knowing basically what this is ruling is basically, and the multiple accusations, he's cheated on you, and now he's committed a crime towards one of your fellow women.
Yeah, I mean, my opinion only, she should divorce him, but that's obviously a life decision between two people, obviously.
That's why I'm not getting involved in that one, but I just feel bad for the woman. Like,
I feel bad for his wife, because what are you supposed to do? Like, you have 4 kids together. You need to take care of the 4 kids, but your husband is, I don't know, can I say rapist or alleged rapist? Because it's technically not a criminal trial.
Yeah.
Like, so let's put it this way. The court of public opinion is nowhere near his side at all right now, because that's what we judge on a lot with someone's character.
Well, like I just said, a jury of his own peers has found him liable. Obviously, this is civil and not criminal, but you're asking fellow Irishmen and Irishwomen if he's guilty or not, and they're ruling yes, he is.
And then on top of that, he loses his deal with the Hitman video game. That came out instantly.
But then, all of a sudden, hours before we start recording, Proper 12, the whiskey brand that he founded years ago, ended up selling all of his ownership for, has now announced that they will be distancing themselves from Conor McGregor.
Which, by the way, he made a lot of money selling that off, but he basically was a spokesperson at that point, like because he basically sold off his ownership. So they basically said, "All right, you go this way, we're going to go that way. Bye. No, we don't need any more negative attention from you." And basically, he's going to lose all his brand deals and stuff.
I'm really, really curious to see what's going to happen now when it comes to his part ownership with bare knuckle fighting.
I'm looking to see if I can find a list.
I highly doubt that they're going to oust him, because combat sports world, I mean, Nick, if we judge the combat sports world based on morals and people being saints, there wouldn't be anybody in it, I think.
That's fair. Totally. But he's the biggest name in the sport.
That's the other problem, too. So if you're the UFC, I mean, look, I'm going to go back to what I said on MMA Outsiders, but I'm going to expand on it here. I think if you're the UFC, all the questions, when's Conor going to fight? When's Conor going to fight? I think you do what WWE's been doing with Brock Lesnar last year. You kind of quietly distance yourselves.
Almost write him out, as they say in the WWE world.
And if anybody asks, when's any update on Conor? You just do one simple one-word answer. No.
It's a good point. Now, but
I'm going to go back to something I told you before. Technically, UFC doesn't have to do anything.
They can hold him hostage until the sunset rights come up.
Well, we kind of talked about it previously. Conor, the reason he's been asking for fights, the real reason is because he has 2 fights left on the UFC deal and he wants to be out of it. But if you're the UFC at this point, the UFC wants him to sign a new deal because they don't want the biggest star that has ever been made in the MMA world to go anywhere else. So, like you just said, since he hasn't fought in 3.5 years, we don't know what his willingness to fight is, considering everything else he's got going on. Dana and Hunter and all of them at the TKO and the UFC can just
hold him hostage.
We don't need to do anything.
But like you said, what'd you say? Sunset rights. Eventually, it'll have to come due. Eventually, yeah. But I just looked up his sponsors, by the way, because I found this very interesting. Because he has a huge list of sponsors, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So EA is one of his biggest ones. That's a kid's brand. I
don't think anything's going to happen with that, considering the EA is not going to drop Conor McGregor from the UFC fight game.
Probably not. Reebok is another one. Win Sports, which is gambling. Beats by Dre, Monster Energy, Burger King.
I see several of those potentially dropping.
Title Sport. I don't know what that is. And McGregor Fest, which I guess is one of his brands.
That's his brand. He is not dropping himself as the face of his brand.
But basically, I could see a few of those dropping.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you see a few of them potentially coming back, though, if, let's say, the higher court that he's appealing to dismisses everything?
Oh, so like the Tiger Woods route.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Tiger Woods, just to compare, because it's not the same exact thing, but Tiger Woods had a cheating scandal, which killed his whole sponsor brand credibility.
His image.
They're both killing their images, is what they did. And they were the biggest in their sport. And Tiger Woods lost everything from like Nike to anything, name it. He lost. Nike eventually came back to him. And then he dropped Nike last year, if you remember, to do his own brand. So I could see McGregor being like, you know what? I'm much smarter than you guys. I'm going to make my own branded stuff.
What kind of Irish accent
I don't
is
know.
that?
I can't do an Irish accent. I'm bad at Irish accents. But I could see him like just saying, you know what? I'll make my own branded video game. I'll make my own shoe brand. I'll make my own gambling app. I'll make my own headphones. I'll make my own energy drink. I'll make my own fast food establishment.
I'm thinking of the meme from Futurama with blackjack and hookers.
Yes. But I see him just like creating everything like under his brand just so he can control it and just they're my sponsors. This is going to sound like a really awkward example, but Conor McGregor kind of reminds me now of Alex Jones.
That is a very awkward example.
Do you know why?
InfoWars.
Well, the reason I say is because Alex Jones, the only sponsors he has are those stupid supplements, which are his own brand. And he has no other sponsors. So basically, he's pushing that crap and trying to get everybody to buy it. That's going to be McGregor at some point. Just buy my crap. Buy my crap.
This is about to be a very old school reference. But Nick, do you see Conor McGregor taking a sponsorship with Balance of Nature?
Oh my God! Hey, it's got fruits and veggies in every spoon, or every vitamin or whatever.
Don't ask me how I pulled that one out of my, but I did.
I think it's got like 60 fruits and veggies in a single capsule. God, don't ask me. The only reason I know that is because when I was in the radio business, I had to deal with it. But whatever.
All right. Very quickly, a couple of MLB stories to go through here. So the 2024 season awards have come out. Like I said earlier, so not a lot of surprises. Although I will say, starting with the Rookie of the Year. We'll go through Rookie, Manager, Cy Young, MVP. Rookie of the Year. Luis Gil winning. I love it as a Yankees fan. I thought Cowher was going to win it. I thought Cowher was going to pull it off, but I mean, credit to Luis Gil. He had a phenomenal season.
Yeah, Gil is only going to get better, and he's going to be low value for 4 to 5 years under arbitration.
Mm-hmm.
So they better take advantage and figure something out.
And honestly, there's a good chance he could be the number 5 starter.
Oh, he's going to be a starter for many years to come, and I could see him being a long man out of the bullpen in the playoffs. Like, he's a perfect guy for that role.
On the National League end, no surprise, Paul Skeens. I mean, if you're talking about a guy who quickly rose up from getting drafted to playing in the big leagues and all the social media attention with him and his girlfriend, Livy Dunn, I mean...
Yeah, well, Livy Dunn definitely helped with all the popularity that he got, but he's a great ball player.
But he delivered on the mound at the same time.
Yeah, like, he's a great ball player, so cut him some slack a little bit. He's a really... And by the way, he's on a team right now in Pittsburgh where he's the only coming attraction right now to that franchise.
And who knows how long he's actually going to stay there, because Pittsburgh always trades off their pieces anyway.
It's Miami... It's basically Miami North.
Yeah. Manager of the Year. Stephen Vogt for Cleveland, which I'm fine with, because honestly, I'm not sure if many people expected Cleveland to end up winning the division this season or to have the successes that they had this season. So I got to give credit to Steve Vogt as a rookie manager.
Yeah, I agree. People have to remember, though, that the postseason doesn't count towards these awards.
Right.
So people are going to say, like, oh, it's an upset that Cleveland lost to the Yankees in that series, even though the Yankees were a full favorite and they just blew games away. But
yeah, but do you think he spends 10, 11 years playing in the bigs, has one stint as a coach of the Mariners last year, and considering what happened with them, then going
it was a surprise hire. Let's be real.
But now he's manager of the year. He's kind of proven himself. And then Pat Murphy in Milwaukee winning the National League manager of the year, who you seem to, when that news came out, you really supported.
I think he's a really good guy. Like, he deserved a chance to manage. Like, and he proved it, because this is the first time I've saw Milwaukee like actually get behind a manager and want to play.
And
like,
to think they had just lost Corbin Burns.
Right. The only thing that hurts any credibility in that organization is they can't get past the first round. But otherwise, they've really turned it around in Milwaukee and figured out a core to play with.
Cy Young, Tariq Skubal from Detroit winning the AL Cy Young, not a shock. I mean,
he was dominant.
You talk about a Tigers team that, really is starting to come together. And he's basically one of, if not the very centerpiece of it.
He's the reason they beat freaking Houston.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that matters towards the Cy Young, but this guy single-handedly beat the Houston Astros.
The National League side, I did not see coming.
Blast from the past.
I would have laughed in your face if you told me this guy was going to win the Cy Young at the start of the season. Chris Sale.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, is he a double winner in both leagues?
When you say double winner in both leagues,
meaning that he's won one in each league.
Yes.
The White Sox, right?
I think it was with the Whites. It wasn't with the. Hold on. Let me.
It was before he got traded or before he signed with the Red Sox as a big free agent.
Chris Sale, American League. Actually, no, he did not win a Cy Young. I'm very shocked by that.
I thought there was one year he had a really dominant year. I can't remember which, but he might have been in the top 3 in the voting on the AL side when he was with the White Sox. But
definitely, but I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Like it says here when I was trying to research that 14 seasons, and this was his first Cy Young.
And he's an older pitcher now, too, who faced a lot of injuries when he was with the Red Sox.
Again, you talk about reviving your career. Like, he really has done that. And
the Braves are a good team, too.
Consistently. And then MVP, you kidding me? Any surprise?
No.
Now, is this the first time, Nick? I want to say, that both American and National League.
It was the first time.
Were unanimous.
Yes, this was the first time. I think they said it was basically decided before the last couple of weeks of the regular season were over. Now, you probably could have said Shohei was the MVP after the All-Star break. Almost. That's how dominant. I mean,
honestly, you could have, Nick. Honestly, you could have picked Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani at the start of August.
I mean, you have to remember, Aaron Judge went through a huge slump beginning of the year.
Yeah, but then he started firing off in May and didn't really look back. Now the postseason.
You know what the scary part was? People thought the way he was hitting that he might fight his record again.
Yeah,
almost. But
and then you got Shohei Ohtani, who's going and making a whole club for himself.
I mean, that guy is probably going to be Hall of Fame. What, in 5 to 7 years? Maybe.
Well, we have to see when he's going to retire first, because right now he ain't slowing down.
No, I'm saying he's almost like Hall of Fame eligible almost in 5 to 7 years, the way he's going. But
yeah,
I mean, by the way, to win an AL and an NL MVP award now too, just add that to the mantle of historic stuff.
Hey, Angels, are you kicking yourselves yet?
That you could have traded him for a king's ransom and you didn't.
And
are
now,
you sure?
And now didn't the Angels just go and sign one of the Japanese pitchers too?
Yes, yeah, they did, and they brought in Travis d'Arnaud also. Apparently,
I like Travis d'Arnaud, but they just don't learn this team.
They just bring in crappy veteran players and don't want to rebuild.
Can't help but doesn't want to help. What doesn't want to be helped. Quickly, Juan Soto is expected to receive offers this week. And he pulled a whole tease earlier in the day. We're recording this by putting something out on social media at a mock press conference, going to put a hat on, and it's a Celsius hat.
I knew it. I knew he was going to do that. I mean, am I surprised? No. This is the Scott. I see the. It must have been a commercial that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? There was a list of teams, the actual list of teams.
Yankees, Red Sox, Mets,
Dodgers, Blue Jays. It's all the big teams. You're not going to see some redonkulous team come out of nowhere.
No.
And say,
I mean, there was a report a week or so ago that the Rays checked in on him.
Yeah. Okay. 800. Wait a minute. 800 million over 800 years.
Yeah. The Rays are, the Rays are one of those organizations too that don't spend money on anything.
You know what the crazy part is? They say that the Blue Jays are actually legitimate from a salary standpoint because they have no commitments past this next coming year.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and Vladdy Guerrero Jr. to be a New York Yankee soon.
He said he won't go there, even on a blank check, and I almost laughed.
We'll see. We'll see, Vladdy.
Hey, Vlad, you're telling me if the Yankees offered you $300 million, you wouldn't go there?
Money talks.
Just saying. I mean, but I don't know. Like, we can play this game. Do you have
No.
any inkling of like who might have the lead
No.
right now at all?
I don't want to imagine. Like I said, heading into this offseason, for the sake of our Yankee fandom, I just don't want the Yankees to ring everything up and hang everything up on Juan Soto. If you have the ability to sign an infielder or an outfielder, yeah, fine. Just do that. Don't let your offseason rest in Juan Soto's lap. Because if Juan Soto takes his time on a decision and everybody else starts signing left and right, and then he doesn't pick you, guess what?
Right.
You're going to be left with nothing.
And I don't know what you say at this point. Like, I'm hearing that there's offers between 650 and like 720, 730 that are being rumored out there already. What was Ohtani's deal again? It was 700 million.
Yeah, thing.
Boris, is going to stretch. Like, he wants to beat that deal. He will do everything in his power to beat that deal. And what I did read also is that he's not willing to accept what's the term? Pushing the money out over years.
Yeah, he's not. Well, I told you that he's not willing to accept deferred payments.
But who cares? Why does it matter?
I don't know.
Don't you want the money?
I don't know. All right, quickly.
Good.
Yeah, we got to wrap up. One last thing here. MLB has. Yeah, I said that they weren't going to, but they have made adjustments to the race schedule because of the fact that they're going to play at Steinbrenner Field.
I don't get Major League Baseball. I just don't. And
so tell me the significance thing. Talk about the home versus away stuff.
I have to pull the story up, but essentially,
they're shifting games around, shifting series around. The Tampa Tarpons, unfortunately, are going to have to play on a backfield this season.
Okay, here it is. So they're moving a bunch of series around, and they're going to play like 16 of like their first 30 or something at home, which is an insane amount of games.
That's asinine, yeah.
I'm trying to see if I can find the actual... Oh, here it is. Okay, so the Rays will now play 47 of their first 59 games overall at home. Think about
insane.
That. Think about that.
But then say the other part. That means how many games are they playing on the road?
Oh, okay. So, and then it's almost like the tale of two halves. Almost. Actually, it's more.
Play mostly home games. And
so,
in the second half of the season.
So they go on the road for 69. Nice. Of the final 103 games.
Oh. So basically, the first, I can't even say half because it's only 59.
It's not even the first. It's not even half.
40% of games they're going to play on the road.
47 of 100 and what was it? 162. So 47 of 162.
So but I'm saying is most of the first 35 to 40% of the season they're playing at home. The rest of it, the last part, they're playing mostly on the road.
Well, yeah, because they're playing at an open air stadium in Florida where it could rain all the time. So, but what happens if it rains?
They'll have to figure something out. But I think we're going to have to call them the Tampa Bay Road Warriors this season.
I mean, holy shit. To play 70 games of 103 on the road?
That's insane.
Wait a minute. That's going to be a lot of laundry to do for road jerseys.
Oh.
And a lot of away cooking instead of home cooking.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
I feel bad for, I forgot if you said it or someone else said it. The fans not getting to go to their home stadium.
They have a limited amount of time that they get to do that.
So basically, you have to say to yourself, "All right, if I don't go in the first 47 games,
you're not going at all.
You're basically not going at all,
unless you're traveling on the road.
Unless you're going, yeah.
But no, I was gonna say, which also tells me, Nick, that most likely, like I said a couple weeks ago, they're doing this now, and then that Miami is probably going to have to share their stadium next year.
But you're going to have the same scheduling issues because you're going to have to basically say, well, they're at home, they're on the road, unless they're playing each other.
Right.
So you're going to have a scheduling catastrophe either way.
Well, they don't pay me to make the MLB schedule. I don't make the rules. Good luck, people.
Thanks a lot. Good old Rob Manfred.
Oh, wait. Or according to the commercials, don't they use, what is it, AWS now for schedule making?
Oh, yeah. That stupid AW. They use it for the strike zone, too.
Yeah.
Whatever that stupid AI technology is that they use. But thanks, Rob. Your fault.
Thank you all for watching. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified of everything here at the Empty the Bench Network. Follow us across social media at ETB Sports and at ETB Network. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. If you can't watch us, don't want to watch us, and just listen to us, then take us on the road with you wherever you get your podcasts. Shout out to our friends over at Playback for sponsoring the show. We'll have more Playback streams very soon. Nick, 2 shows left in the season.
Is it really? Holy shoot.
December approaches. We only have 2 shows in December before Best of mode kicks in.
I was just going to say, quick programming note. Best ofs start after the week of December 14th. And when I tell you there's going to be a lot of fun moments from this year, there's a lot of fun moments from this year.
Yeah.
So
we got to get out of here. The short week schedule is causing a lot of recordings going all over the place. So we got to run.
Yeah. So for Tom Albano, I'm Nick Morgasen. This has been episode 259 of Empty the Bench, presented by Playback. We will see you next week for the nice round number of episode 260. So he's Tom. I'm Nick. We'll see you next week. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.